Did you know football was once so violent it was banned by kings? Yes, kings. From pig bladders to chaotic fights that lasted for days. My guy, and this is the shocking untold story of how a nuisance game became the world's favorite sport. I joined a 1,000-year-old match in England where they still play it like in the olden days, and you wouldn't believe what happened. I was totally shocked. Stay tuned. History of football is about to get wild on my football channel right here.
Glorious, long to reign over us, God save the King. It's a local game
The local people. Oh my God. To zoom in, my name is Abdul Rashid Zakari. You can call me Bok for short, and this is where all the action on this channel starts. If you haven't subscribed, please click on the subscribe button below on the lower right of this video, please, so I can come your way with more educative football content like this. As you all know, football is the world's favorite sport, played by some over 240 million people worldwide. Due to its popularity and reverence, it's understandable to have its origins disputed and claimed by several other people. The Aztecs in modern-day Mexico said they invented it. Later, the Chinese people also made a claim about the game originating from them with the name Kuju. Yes, the Greeks, the Romans, the Arabs, the Assyrians, the Egyptians, the Persians, now Iranians, and Vikings, all of Scandinavia, all had similar ball game along lines of history, and as such, they all make claims to it and have a historical document to back it too. In one way or the other, the description of the game that they all claim to have invented looks similar to this beautiful game called football. However, it is the British that made it an organized sport with accompanying rules and regulations. An interesting article appeared in 1934 British newspaper suggested that the Roman leader Julius Caesar introduced football to the shores of Britain. According to the date, that was way before even Christ was born. As such, the world owes Britain tons of gratitude for the game we all know today. One, for developing it into a modern form, and two, spreading it across the globe. Football, in its life cycle over the years and travels around the world, wasn't only embraced as a sport. In some places, it became a tool for unity. Yes, like it happened in Ivory Coast in 2006 when they were tearing the nation apart. After several mediation efforts between the government and the rebels proved futile, the country's qualification to the 2006 FIFA World Cup mended the two factions and peace was restored. And Drogba has a nice story to this captured in his autobiography called My Commitment, which can be found on Amazon. Yes, for some, it became a political tool to galvanize their support base, as was the case with many South American nations during the struggle for their independence. They used football as game grounds for political rallies when the colonial master banned them from massing up anywhere. Aside being a social activity, it has now become a huge economic tool. In England, for example, football contributes about £8 billion to the UK economy. Modern football originated in Great Britain in the 19th century from another form of football in medieval times called mob football or folk football. As the name implies, it was very chaotic. Very chaotic. Football in medieval times was played in towns and villages according to local customs and minimum rules, and was played for various reasons. Example, to settle old scores between two neighborhoods or towns, sometimes for cultural or religious purposes and disputes, and other many tribal aggressions. With no rules or regulations, games could go on for days with no set timelines and unlimited number of players on the field of play. Before a round leather could be cut, pieced, stitched together to be used as a ball, I gathered from my initial research that the earliest type of football used was a pig bladder filled with blood. But in filming this episode, it turned out to be false. Yes, something else was initially used, which I will disclose later in this video. Yes, mob football or folk football was so violent and resulted in more death and injuries. As a result, a Frenchman by name Sir Nicolas de Vendôme, who also doubled as the mayor of London, then regarded the game as a nuisance and that God even dislikes it. It was his way of basically trying to deter people from playing it, but to no avail. Then some 3 decades later, in 1349, the football faced its first possible banishment by King Edward III of England. The game got caught up so much so that it prevented the king's bowmen from practicing their archery skills. But despite the dangers associated with the game, its popularity kept on rising across the whole of Britain. Today, this form of football is largely obsolete across the country, but there are some very few places in Great Britain that have held on to this game and still play it for cultural and historical significance. These places are Ashbourne in Derby, Orkney in Scotland, and Workington in Cumbria. Modern football has a universal simplistic way of scoring. Thus, to get the ball to the opposite end of your competitor and have it at the back of the net, like we all know. But in medieval football, every locality had their own way of scoring when they played. In Workington, for example, for a goal to be scored, all that teams needed to do was to get the ball in their half and burst it to signify scoring or winning the game. The historical context to this was that during medieval times, when they used the pig bladder filled with blood, it was knifed and blood spilled. The team that spilled the blood were going to have abundant harvest via the blessings from the gods that they served at that time. Yes. So, to give you a feel of how mob football felt like, I joined the citizens of Ashbourne in Derby to commemorate this year's Shrove Tuesday and Ash Wednesday annual football. And this is where it all began. Thrilled to take you on an incredible journey today to Ashbourne in Derby. Derby is more or less like the central part of UK, and if you are not far from here and a football person, whenever Derby is mentioned, the first thing that comes to mind is Derby County. Yes, but today I'm going to witness Shrovetide football. Shrovetide football is the oldest form of football, and it's basically how football began. It's sometimes called mob football or folk football. This historic or chaotic tradition is a living piece of football's origins, and I can't wait to experience it firsthand. Football, and see how it connects to the game we all love today. The energy, the chaos, the history, it's all calling to me. And so I would say stick and stay as I bring you along to see these origins of football in Ashbourne Derby today. Ashbourne can be found in Derby and it's situated in the central part of UK. The town is divided into two teams based on geography, with a stream as seen with the blue line by name Henmore Brook being the determining factor. People born on the north side of the Henmore Brook stream are called uppards, and those born on the south side of the Henmore Brook stream are called downards. So basically uppards and downards. Uppards is corrupted from the English word upwards, and downards corrupted from the English word downards. I reached Ashbourne by midday and was observing Ramadan, so you could understand. Sun hardly comes out in UK whenever this game is held, but fortunately there was some sun that day. I quickly mapped out the town and then fixed my gadget to start filming. I went to see Henmore Brook River, which basically determines which side a player must play for or represent. From there, I went to the uppards and downards sections briefly before the game started. I later pitched camp at the uppards, and within 30 minutes, the crowd had gathered. Folks enjoying their beer, those smoking are puffing and all over. I kept getting stares and looks all over. Not derogatory though, but surprises like, where from this black dude coming over to film our game? In fact, I was the only black guy among this crowd at this moment. So you can understand. This is a typical white neighborhood too. To be fair, I only saw just 2 other black guys at the game, plus me being 3. I don't know if there was more, but with my eyes, I only saw 2 black guys.
No, I'll put on later. No live streaming. Yeah. Bye. Bye. Bye.
When I touched down and was moving through the town, there was something of note I saw. That's all shops, outlets, convenience stores on the main roads and houses by the roadside have all been boarded up and shielded with these slabs. Initially, I didn't understand why, but apparently there's some history behind that. During the 1960 games, for better context, Ashbourne has been playing this Royal Shrovetide football game for 340 years now. So during the 1960 edition, the ball unfortunately landed in a shop, and as traditions of the game demand, the game doesn't stop anywhere. Play continues. So the ball ended up in the shop of a company called F.W. Woolworth, and they were into the sale of general goods. So everything in the shop got smashed. The committee in charge of the games met the next day and reckoned that this was the end of this traditional game. All that the company, F.W. Woolworth, needed to do was to sue for damages, and that would be it. But knowing how and what the game meant to the locals, the company never raised an alarm but put back their shop in order and continued their business as usual. So when I got to Ashbourne, I sort of look out for this F.W. Woolworth shop, but unfortunately, the company ceased operations and folded up in 2008. So really, the game was saved by F.W. Woolworth in 1960, which is something that the town is very, very grateful for when you speak to the locals. At this time, we were all waiting for the kickoff time, which was 2 p.m., and then we all moved to a converging point to start the game. But to give you a brief background about this game, it's popularly called the Royal Shrovetide football game, and it's a kind of mob or folk football or mass street football event that takes place over 2 days in Ashbourne in Derby. The first day of the event is called Shrove Tuesday, and the second day of the event is called Ash Wednesday. The game starts at 2 p.m. on both days and finishes at 10 p.m. If a goal is scored before 7 p.m., it's restarted and it continues till 10 p.m. I checked the records before this year's edition and realized the Aparts have been quite dominant and successful in recent times. Anyway, we came to see if the story will be different this year. Someone might be asking, but where is the football field? Well, as I explained earlier, the whole Ashbourne town is the football pitch. And where are the goalposts? The goalposts are 3 miles apart. The Apart's goal is at a place called Stenston Mill, whereas that of the Downers is at a place called Clifton Mill. To score, all that teams needed to do was to take the ball back to their goalpost and tap it on the stone 3 times. As compared to the modern game, which requires that teams score at opposing ends of the goalpost. So to score, the ball is carried to the mill and tapped 3 times. I happened to go to the mills, but the place were secured as I couldn't get access to see them. On this day, blood brothers or siblings go against each other, parents against their children, friends against their main bodies. Even if it means punching them in the course of the game to gain advantage, so be it. Here we are at exactly 2 p.m. Everybody gathered at the central point in the town called the Plinth to start the game. After singing the national anthem, God Save the King, the rules regarding the game was read out to everybody via a public address system. Key part of the rules were churches and hospitals were no-go zones. Afterwards, the game was kicked into motion by what they call turn-up. Turn-up is basically the ball being thrown into the air and the game kicks off. It's usually done by an invited dignitary or some guest, and they have had some popular people grace it too. Key among such people is the King of Britain, King Charles, who turned up or kicked off the game in 2003. Then there's another funny one by one of England's legendary manager by name Brian Clough. You know Nottingham Forest have won two UEFA Champions League titles, right? Well, Brian Clough was the masterminder of those laurels. The club was so successful during his tenure. So the funny story is, Brian Clough was invited to turn up the ball at the time he had acrimoniously left Derby County FC after falling out with the board and fans of the club. You know, Ashbourne is based in Derby, so automatically they are fans of Derby County Football Club. So before a turn-up, the dignity to do that is carried on the people's shoulders to the Plinth. But Brian Clough refused to be carried for fear of being dumped by the fans because he felt the hit from the crowd right from the go. So he walked to the converging point, never waited for the crowd to sing the national anthem. Absent proper initial proceedings and protocols, he just threw the ball into the crowd, and that annoyed them more. So, when he was about leaving, someone from the crowd ambushed and threw a punch at him, but he was lucky his body escort saved him that day. He was fuming and called them barbarians and all. So, that's the story.
These are a few things I need to say. Areas of no play. All churchyards and churches. The Kingdom Hall and places of worship. The Memorial Gardens over there. St Oswald's Hospital on Clifton Road and the Doctor's Surgery. The allotments on Watery Lane. These are areas of no play. If the ball goes in there, then it comes out with no advantage being taken by anyone. Please respect people's property and gardens. Be aware, this amounts to everybody, be aware of what's going on around you. Players, spectators, the ball moves so quickly. Please be aware of what's around you. Listen to the marshals and listen to the senior players, loads of them, who are playing the game in showtime. Not we're playing against them and they're playing against us. Let's play the game with great vigour and great fellowship. Anybody playing or watching this game does so at their own risk. And don't forget, it's a local game for local people, so let's keep it that way.
For the sake of old lang syne, and glorious, long to reign
Let me remind you guys that the goalpost in this game is not the usual goalpost we all know, but these are millstones which are 3 miles apart. And then to score or win the game, all the players needed to do was that to get the ball and take it back to their goalpost or millstones and tap on the stone 3 times to signify scoring or winning. So the game is in full session now, and I was scared to get close to the action due to its rowdy nature, and even was warned to stay far away from it by a certain old man when I touched down. So I stayed far away to film initial proceedings on the first day, but then I saw other content creators right in the middle of the action, so I thought it wise, why not also join the fray and grab some 3D front row seats and then cover it properly. And let me add that match street football is played with any part of the body. Per what I even saw, it was more with the hands than any other part of the body. So the scrum or the gridlock of people you see over here is the game in session ongoing as at this moment, and both of the teams are trying so hard to get the ball and move it back to their territory. At this point, none of the teams, neither apart or down, had an advantage whatsoever. They were all trying to move it out from the plinth, like that's the converging point, and then they take it from there. So I was also right in the action, in the thick of things, trying to get the shots, the best of shots, and enjoy at the same time. Also enjoy the game. That's one of the players right there. His shoes got torn, and he has to fix it and get back to the action again. Yes, so that's pretty much the crowd, the sea of people, all of us right there, trying to get out from the converging point and then follow the game as we try to see who carries the day. And let me also add that beyond this game, this event brings people born and raised in Ashbourne far and near together to observe and mark this traditional sort of like a festival or ceremony. Something like a Christmas or Easter like vibe, you know. Men, women, children, old men and women originally from Ashbourne have traveled to either play or actively support their side of town. Interestingly, every one of them wore their support on their sleeve and were proud to mention or shout, "Come on you upwards," or "Come on you downwards."
But it's good. At least it's been kept alive for how many years? It's good. Yeah, exactly. It's good. It's good.
16 years.
It's been a fair old.
Yeah.
I think it's over 300 years.
Yeah, definitely. It's good.
Mind the step.
Oh, yeah, mate. Get on here. I saw it.
It's good.
So yeah, we finally made it into the street, and at this point, the game was being played far, far ahead of us, and there was a gridlock at this moment. The whole crowd you find is a sea of supporters. They are not necessarily players, but they keep following the game throughout. So you can see just in front of us and then behind just a sea of people, and I was just marveled and amazed as to how these people cherish this game so much. Wow. At this point, all I wanted to do is go in front and then be able to capture the game for you guys, but the crowd just wouldn't allow me. Yes, and the street that we find ourselves in on now is called Dig Street. It's a very popular street in Ashbourne, and you can see the whole place was packed with a lot of people trying to watch the game. There were other people I saw hanging in windows and their doors on the upper decks of their building trying to record and capture the game and all that. So it was quite fun. On the other side, these are people also giving a wave, yeah, and then we all trying to see the game and have fun at the same time. And that's some of the players in your shots right there trying to maneuver the crowd to help their team. And let me remind you guys that this game, Royal Shrovetide Football, is a perfect representation of how football started. And this is sometimes called mass street football or mob football or folk football. So yeah, so don't be surprised with all that you are seeing now. That's exactly depicting how the game used to be or how it started. Yes, so tada, we now got to the main intersection joint of the popular street in Ashbourne called Dig Street. And at this point, it was the Aparts that were slowly moving the ball to their goalposts to score. And then suddenly, everything went south for them from here. And at this point, I'm sure you might be wondering, where exactly is the game being played? So, in your shots, just right in front of us, there's a scrum or a sea of people, like people going around in circles here and there trying to grab the ball. That's what they are trying to do, and that's how they play it. So it's happening right in front of us, right there in the scrum, like a wave of people going around something in the crowd. Yes. Yes, and I still made some good friends in the crowd, and then we shared some pretty good jokes too at the same time. Yes, and there I was getting jumped by the players. This was how close I got to the game at this moment. You see the scrum right there, the mini crowd and people pushing and shoving each other right there. Yes, the ball is right there in beneath them, and all they're trying to do is trying to retrieve it or get it back from the opponent. As I said earlier on, at this moment, it was the Aparts that had the advantage. So the downers were trying so hard to get it back from them and then move it to their half. Voila. So the downers got hold of the ball and started moving it towards their area. You see the bordered slabs I spoke about earlier? Yes. So as you can see, everywhere the ball goes, the crowd follows. So basically, this is what mob football, folk football, or mass street football looks like. And this is the genesis of how our modern football game came about. We were all moving in one direction, and suddenly, as the ball changed course, or when the downers got hold of the ball, everybody, the whole crowd, the direction, everything changed, and we started following the ball from here to again. After the downers had gotten hold of the ball from the Aparts, we heard that they were sending it to play in the Henmore Brook River. And so, as you can see, we're all running towards that side to catch a glimpse of the play also at the other side. At this moment, no one knew where the ball was or where the game was taking place, except the players. So a section of the crowd were back to their bases, chatting and fraternizing at the same time. So what you see in your shots here is the base of the Downers. Yes, but at the same time too, there were a good section of the crowd that were still following the game. But as at this moment, I didn't know where exactly where it was taking place. Later, we heard that the ball had landed at a park beside the Henmore Brook River, so we all ran quickly to go see it. Now, in the middle of the scrum over there, you see the storm or crowd, like people moving here and there and all that. That is exactly where the game is taking place, or the action is taking place. So it's quite funny though, but I didn't for people like us. We wanted to really see where and how the game started. Suddenly, the ball changed course from the green fields near the Henmore Brook River to the street again. And by way of anticipation, some of the players went waiting in the river to receive the ball and advance it to the mills. And I was quite surprised from here because I didn't know. I was very, very shocked. Whilst the ball was somewhere else, I mean, some people were in the river waiting to receive the ball. And surprising of them, I actually found some people even eating in the water while standing and waiting for the ball. So on top of the Henmore Brook River, there's a bridge. So at a point, that's where all the crowd following the game were standing and waiting in anticipation where the ball was going to come from. But aside that, quite personally, I think what I picked from the game being played around this space is that every year they sort of like move the ball into the river to have it played, which personally I think is more or less like a tradition, okay, or cultural thing. So no matter how it is, no matter how they play the game, at the end of the day, it must be sent into the Henmore Brook River to be played, and then whoever gets the ball afterwards takes it to the mill or goalpost to score. The ball came back to the field near the river after some few tussle in the street, and the scramble continued for close to 10 minutes in this part of the game. It was total gridlock before it was moved into the river, which quite unfortunately I couldn't capture, but I was able to capture part of it before the ball ended up in the river. And then here you can find some of the players munching on pizza before in anticipation or waiting for the ball to come. I got tired chasing the game, and when my fasting I got tired as well, so quickly had to break and then find some place to pray and find something to eat. So this is where I actually ended up. I ordered some shawarma and all that. I made some couple of friends in there, and I was quite surprised regarding the way the place was. It was quite busy, and then orders coming in here and there and all that. I was quite surprised. So I told the guys, one of the guys I met them, like, this place is too hot. He was like, nah, the whole year, these 2 days are times that they are supposed to make their sales for the whole year. When the games pass, that's it. Oh, okay, so I was like, okay.
So, nice one. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. Video.
Wait, down the street, Joe.
Is this for a channel?
Down the street.
Yeah, yes.
Follow his channel, boys. Follow the channel. Follow the channel.
Nice one.
What's your name? What's your...
My football travels.
My football
travels, yes.
Well, guys, if you don't follow him, coming after you. Coming after you. I'm going to have to get your YouTube now so I can see it.
Yeah.
Account that I can
Yes,
subscribe to. I'll
sure.
subscribe to your account, my
Sure.
brother.
Sure.
Do you want to put it in real quick?
Yeah. Nice one. I really appreciate it, yeah?
It's okay, brother. Where are you from?
Thank you. I'm from Ghana.
Ghana?
Yes.
Are you coming here just for Showtime, or have you
Yes,
moved
yes.
to England?
This is Dick Street in the night, that crowded streets. that we saw in the afternoon, but quite empty in the evening. It was getting colder now by this time, so I had to quickly find some place to rest. Already I was tired after my food, so I stopped chasing the game at this point. I later heard that the Downers managed to score, and so they carried the day. I signed off to my hotel to rest and continue the next day. See you next episode. Bye bye.